I'm now joined live by Vienna-based political researcher Benjamin Schett. Thanks for coming on RT today. Damascus accuses Qatar and Saudi Arabia of assisting the terror attacks over the weekend. Why do you think the Syrian government has arrived at these conclusions?
Well, first of all, the attacks have been done. These crimes have been committed with quite precision. So it's quite possible that there has been support from the outside. And we know that Qatar and Saudi Arabia support the armed insurgents in Syria because Syria is an ally of Iran, and Iran is their main enemy in the region. Rival.
Now, we do have the reports, though, of Saudi arms shipments to opposition forces. They come amid increased calls from some major Western nations, including America, to avoid militarizing the conflict further. Do you believe these shipments are taking place? And if so, why has the Gulf state ignored the calls from its Western allies? We know that Saudi Arabia supports the armed insurgents, but if these particular shipments took place, I think it's speculation. It's quite possible, but on the other hand, it might also be that this anonymous diplomat just said this to disturb the relations between Jordan and Syria, because they say the weapons come through Jordan. I think this is still speculation, but I think the U.S. government is. I think it's hard to imagine that they are not involved in training the insurgents. There also have been reports by British media that they actually do so, and it reminds a little bit of Bosnia, when officially there was an armed embargo against all sides, but the US still, through the CIA, armed Mujahideen to fight against Serbs, and it might be a repetition of this game in Syria. So you're describing what some might call a proxy war in some ways, with Western powers helping to arm rebels here. But one point of concern for many is some are speculating that Syria is steadily turning into a terrorist hub, similar to that of what happened in Iraq or Afghanistan. Do you think those fears could be truthful?
It's possible, unfortunately, because the armed insurgents in Syria are interested in an escalation of sectarian violence, because otherwise they did not manage to achieve their goals so far, and they don't have a clear, some kind of stronghold as the Libyan rebels had in Benghazi, so that NATO could just bomb their way free to the capital. So yes, there is an interest in turning Syria into a big chaos.
Well, it is such a mix here. You've got certain accusations coming from the opposition, accusations coming from the government, all sorts of speculation about international forces at work in Syria. But we do know that Syria's exiled opposition, the Syrian National Council, sitting very comfortably in Turkey at the moment, blames the regime for the recent terror attacks in Damascus and Aleppo. If that's the case, why would the government bomb its own people and security buildings?
I think that doesn't sound very plausible, because this ongoing destabilization and increase of sectarian violence in Syria is not so much in the interest of Assad, but more in the interest of the insurgents, in order to provoke harsh reactions from the Syrian government troops, which finally could provoke foreign interventions.
So you talk about provoking a reaction, a hard reaction from the government troops there, because ultimately Damascus in recent weeks has been largely free of the daily violence, devastating other areas in the country. Do you think this is now why the capital is now being targeted, to provoke a harder response from Assad's regime and his troops?
Yes, because we had comparable situations also in earlier cases. I was talking about the war in Yugoslavia before, when, for example, in Bosnia, the Muslims did attack the Serbs and provoked reactions, because otherwise they would have been too weak, and which finally caused the Western intervention. And I think the Syrian anti-government insurgents probably learned from these previous examples.
All right, Benjamin Schett, a political researcher there live in Vienna. Thank you for coming on RT today.
Thank you.